Hello, everybody. Today is June 5th, and we're doing business and social stories for the middle of the week. Wendell is still gone, and will be gone for the next few episodes.
In fact, he's got a long engagement in Taiwan. Longer than usual. He's going native. Now, here's a historical first, and I don't really know enough. I know the work culture over there is much more company-centric. So this seems to be a kind of a radical change in the minds of the people.
Samsung Workers Union announces first ever strike for chipmaker. The fact that it's the first ever, they pointed out in the article, like they're not sure how Samsung will react to this.
Also, it's only 20% of the workforce, I think, that is 20%, and it's only going to be for 1 day. And they're all requesting paid time off to do it. So it's not like they're walking out. It's a very orderly strike.
I would almost just call that like an unofficial vacation. It's like senior skip day.
But it will have an impact, I think, on their production for that day. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that.
Do you think it's like a preliminary thing where they're like, we'll do this once, and then if they don't give in to our demands, we'll do something worse?
That's the only way to be effective, right?
Yeah.
Because they're going to call your bluff probably at least once. That'll be on June 7th, if you want to follow that.
An update.
And that is the collapse section. And oh boy, do we have more collapse. And this week, it's pretty much all EV collapse.
Fisker cuts hundreds of workers in bid to keep EV startup alive.
That's one of the really expensive electric vehicles, which is definitely not what the market's looking for right now. Market wants like a $25,000 truck, not whatever these are, which can get into the hundreds.
And just casually pay off your house with that.
I think these are also very high dollar EVs.
Bay Area carmaker Lucid lays off hundreds of workers after raising $1 billion.
I think they're down to, so that's 400 employees. I think this is the one where they said that they were down to like 150 people.
That seems small.
Oh no, that must have been Fisker because this is 6% at 400. Yeah, these cars range from 70 grand to 250,000.
That's more than my house.
Not for me.
More than my education.
And if you think, hey, I got laid off from the EV company, but I'm in San Francisco, I want to stay here, maybe I'll get into game development. Don't do that.
Video game developer lays off 162 Bay Area workers as brutal trend continues.
It does seem like it's rough in the video game space. That's Phoenix Labs.
Yeah.
They didn't say what games that they've...
I wasn't familiar with the publisher or the...
Dauntless and Fae Farm are what they're working on right now. Never heard of those.
I don't think I've heard of that either.
Although if it's a farm sim, I'll check it out. And Klarna famously was one of the first companies to say, you know what, we're just going to fire everybody and use AI. And we were like, that's probably going to go poorly, but maybe it didn't go poorly.
Klarna using GenAI to cut marketing costs by $10 million annually. What the line that stuck out to me from this article was they were like, we spend a lot on stock photography. And I was like, 10 million on stock photography?
So they point out that they want, when you're on their app or whatever the current thing is, they want a special graphic just for that. So if it's Valentine's Day, if it's Christmas, if it's Trump getting convicted, whatever it is.
Congratulations to all who celebrate.
So you used to have to kick that over to the art team.
Yeah.
Now, just a prompt.
Klarna's the like layaway app, correct?
No, they're like a financial thing. Yeah, maybe it is.
Yeah, it's like layaway. Yeah,
I think they do other stuff though as well.
That's what I've seen. Like on some small online stores, you'll see like pay once or use Klarna.
It's buy now, pay later.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Which is also apparently getting killed because no one's paying later.
That's the same problem it had with layaway at Walmart. It doesn't work.
But you didn't get the layaway till you paid it all, right?
I don't remember. I think so. I think they would just put it in the back.
Right. That's the whole. But this, you get it.
Which is insane. It's like, why didn't that work? I wonder.
And I think they're only allowed to charge a certain amount of interest or whatever. It's a different. Like they can't call themselves a lender in certain ways. to get around
the regulations around
stuff.
that.
But sales are down, and here's a good indicator of how down they are.
Salesforce shares plunged 16% on first revenue miss since 2006.
Yikes. You can't be a customer relations manager if there's no customers.
No one's got the money. Actually, is that the next story? Oh, no. Also, terrible headline.
Yeah, people pointed out.
Yeah.
But yes, people are broke, and modern Hollywood is broken and horrible, and people have better things to do with their time and their money.
I'm going to quote this as it was written. Furiosa edges Garfield in worst Memorial Day weekend since 1995.
I'm sure Garfield's been neutered.
Oh, yeah.
That couldn't work.
Also, poor Anna Taylor-Joy. Whoever her stylist is, she needs to fire them.
Is she the one in the middle?
Yeah. This press tour, I do not know what they've been doing to her. The fashion subreddits are not having it.
It is you're supposed to be a spectacle at these things, though, right?
But yeah, usually, though, the way that the trend has gone for the last couple of years is like, if you're a star in a big movie, like, you usually kind of dress like, quote, on theme for your movie. And they've like, what does this have to do with?
Well, so you want her to be like, she's post-apocalyptic, right?
Yeah. So like some of her outfits for this press tour, she was wearing like leather and like, things that kind of looked like a little bit Mad Maxy. But then like some of her outfits are this, where she looks like a French maid or like the feather duster from Beauty and the Beast. And it's like, why?
I don't understand any of it. I mean, being weird seems to be a part of it. When's the last time you had fast food?
Last weekend, because the power was out.
Me too.
Yeah. But other than that, not often, yeah.
But when my refrigerator is functioning, I avoid it, and apparently I'm not alone.
Nearly 80% of Americans now consider fast food a luxury due to high prices. I certainly am in that camp. It is nice every now and then, but not something I would go out of my way for. Part of that is also just where we live, but...
Remember the whole controversy about the $18 Big Mac?
Yeah.
That was reported, and then some people were like, no, that's fake. The McDonald's CEO, or one of the high-ranking McDonald's people, confirmed there is somewhere in America that sells an $18 Big Mac. I think it's in California. Apparently, rest stop McDonald's have prices like airports.
I could see that, because, it's like, oh, you're not going to drive all the way into town in the middle of nowhere. You're going to want to stay near this interstate.
You think they could cut them... like, why not just sell a lot? I guess you don't have enough traffic moving through.
Near an interstate, you would think, but...
It's important to remember that McDonald's does not set prices nationally. That is the franchisees that get to do that. So if you got expensive McDonald's, the owner is who you should be complaining to. Or you should just maybe not eat McDonald's. And moving on to hardware, ARM continues to try and break its way into the mainstream. And they are doing that with new stuff that they've announced.
ARM says its next-gen mobile GPU will be its most performant and efficient.
This thing had a weird name.
They all do.
Immortalis.
What? Repeat that?
Immortalis. Is that Latin for immortal?
Probably.
And Cortex is their CPU. It seems that most companies like the Cortex CPU. Samsung puts that in some of their stuff, but no one uses this combo, and they're trying to push that. They're like, this is good stuff. It's going to save power.
The naming conventions are just...
And as we've all seen, video cards are getting a little out of hand. They are large, and they're getting larger, and they need so much power that they catch fire. So as a motherboard maker, what can you do?
Gigabyte's new B650E motherboard supports plump graphics cards weighing up to 58 kg. Plump. That's not the word I would think of.
PC Gamer is estimating that the next gen video cards flagships might be 5 slots. That is thick.
Plump. Luscious, if you will. A luscious plum.
Why don't we just go back to turning the board so it's flat again?
No.
Like that for years. Tower computers, no one considered them. It's like, yeah, just lay it flat. Why not? Solves the problem. Data centers boy, do we need a lot of data centers. And it's getting worse because ChatGPT has to just suck up all that power. But how much power?
Data centers could use 9% of U.S. electricity by 2030, Research Institute says. I don't remember, does this article break down other industries? That seems like a lot, but...
No, but like, I think in most other industries, you get something tangible from it. Right. Like if you're using a lot of electricity to process chickens, we kind of
make a car. Yeah.
They do point out a hilarious fact from this is that the vast majority of data centers in the United States are in Texas and Virginia because the feds are keeping a copy of everything in Virginia. Oh, that's sad. But you will not be sad if you've invested correctly in SpaceMobile internet because it's coming.
AST SpaceMobile stock surges 69%, its best day ever after Verizon satellite internet deal.
So we're learning that AT&T is joining up with these guys, and now Verizon. Interesting. Wendell predicted this will fail.
Really?
But now there's a second company. Yeah.
SpaceMobile is going to be the Bucky's internet. You connect to SpaceMobile.
And you're talking about the Moon Buckies.
The Moon Buckies, yeah, sorry. I should have clarified. Moon Buckies is a separate entity from Bucky's.
Could we call it Luckies for like Luna Buckies? Luccees?
And like hyphenate it.
It's interesting how we have, like all these phones and stuff that are just doggedly not letting the other phones use their features. You get the messaging, you get all this nonsense. Why do we want to split it all up? And the answer is money.
Android's new Instant Hotspot feature won't be available on Samsung devices. Seems like shooting yourself in the foot a little bit, considering Samsung's so popular, but...
But this is Samsung's choice.
They must be doing their own then?
Yeah, it seems that Samsung wants their phone... They want the Apple thing, right?
Right.
They want you to buy the Samsung phone.
Be totally locked into their ecosystem.
Go with the Samsung tablet. So if you're mixing and matching... However, Chromebooks will work universally. So apparently Google was like, yeah, okay, fine.
We'll play nice because Samsung has so much of the market.
And because we don't sell a lot of tablets. So we're not worried about that. And here's an amazing new idea. And I got to say, this might be the one that could actually do something good with augmented reality that I would be interested in.
Spacetop, the radical new laptop with no screen, is ready for launch.
So there it is. It just comes with a pair of glasses. Tethered. I'm sure they'll fix that eventually. And they got a mock-up down here of what that might be like. Now, you only get 1080 resolution, and you only get a 50-degree field of view.
Ooh.
They point out that the VR generally has 90.
I always get mixed up. Is it the high FOV that gives you the vomit comment? Where you feel like you're going to throw up?
So, it's like 90 would be...
Right.
Like that, maybe?
I'm trying to remember
50.
when we played Half-Life 2 years ago. Wendell and I both got really sick because the default FOV was...
Your eyesight FOV is quite high.
Right.
Like you have really good peripheral vision. You wouldn't hear... And you can kind of see how constrained that is. This is a mock-up, obviously.
Yeah. No, everyone can see that.
But still...
That would be cool, like, in the instance of, like, being on a plane. Or, like, if you just don't want people to see your monitor.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
You could also have vertical...
Yeah.
Like space, probably. So...
Could rearrange your monitors.
That's interesting.
Quote any way you want.
They've also got this, which maybe more than 50. Interesting idea. I probably wouldn't want the first generation, but I'm eager to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. Never go first. Wait till it gets a little better.
Well, this is certainly a first. Now, this one's interesting on a couple of different levels. Let's look at it.
A startup's tablet gears up to take on Apple's iPad.
So this is let's look at their promotional website.
Oh, I loved this.
This is one of those e-ink type displays, and it's all about like not being distracting and addictive and TikTok-y.
And it's got different settings, so like it's not as bright, doesn't hurt your eyes.
Amber at night only.
Yeah.
So no blue lights coming from this thing.
I'm definitely intrigued by it. I would not be the early adopter. It's also very expensive. I can't remember how much it is. It sells you somewhere on this site. But it is cool.
It runs a version of Android. So if you're not an Android fan, you probably wouldn't want it. But they also have a business model that's somewhat open. And it seems like maybe they're not as bad as the other companies. I don't really know the details of it. But it's an interesting concept.
I remember it being, I think it was a few thousand when I looked it up on their website.
It is pricey.
It was very pricey. It's definitely something that, like I said, would probably wait a little bit, but interested. Mark me down as interested.
But this whole idea of a new way to look at your stuff, augmented reality, a new way to experience the screen, which, there's only so much you can do for a screen on a small device, is clearly something that companies are thinking about.
Exclusive. Google augmented reality startup Magic Leap strike partnership deal. I could have sworn they bought them already. Did I imagine that? Did I hallucinate that?
No, I remember Magic Leap came out with that horrible, what was the name of their thing?
I don't know.
But they had that stupid rock demo, like it was a rock monster that threw a rock out and it flew out of the screen in augmented reality.
Oh.
Then they had that one where there was a flood would fill the room that you were in augmented reality. But they sold it, nobody cared.
Yeah. What do I do with that?
Right. Turns out Google is going to be the ones to figure that out. Maybe. And the EV world is apparently being upended because no one wants EVs. Everybody wants a hybrid because no one wants to sit at a charger and deal with that whole anxiety. They want something that can recharge it on board. And the Chinese might have hit a new milestone.
Chinese Tesla rival BYD says its new hybrid cars can go 1,250 miles without stopping for gas or charging. Tempting.
It's a big claim.
It is a big claim.
The average gas car can only go, like 400 or 500?
That's what I was thinking. We'll
and
see.
Even that's really good. So, yeah. BYD has been accused of faking some stuff, though.
No, an EV company not being totally honest.
A Chinese EV company.
Yeah.
And here is another baby step toward the Warhammer 40,000 future. And this, I feel, is a little bit overhyped in terms of what it can actually do. But the fact that somebody decided that this was a good thing.
Yeah.
And it works enough that you can actually rent it, but only if you're an educational institution.
Swiss company develops CPUs from lab-grown human brains, and the internet is horrified.
So we talked about these a while back. Remember the organelles that they could grow? Basically little brains. And they were like, oh, don't worry. They can't suffer or feel
Kill me.
or experience. But apparently they can compute. So, yeah. If they ever figure that out, we're going to be growing brains in jars and using them as computers. Or we're going to be Neuralinking people and enslaving them to be computers.
Oh, we've discovered it's cheaper just to use real human brains.
Imagine how much cheaper it would be.
There's a lot of us.
More every day.
But sometimes you get one and it's just a dud when you hook it up. It's like, oh, there's nothing going on in there.
I mean, that's
No thoughts, head empty.
That's kind of the way humans work, isn't it? What if only the dumbest people are free from the slavery of the Neuralink?
You have to pretend to be dumb.
They'll be able to tell because they'll just, jack you in and they'll be like, oh, yeah, you're good.
Oh.
You find out, you'll be like one of those things where they test you at school and you're proud of being smart enough, but then you're like, oh, I have to be
in the
Neuralink
farm.
slave.
Yeah.
Well, you are a backpacker.
I am.
A hiker, a victim of tree damage. And you got to worry about getting lost, right? That big storm could have hit you instead of your car.
It could have.
And what would you do? Well, there's a new way to be saved.
New technology may help find missing people in Colorado's backcountry within minutes.
This is basically a stingray. If you remember, the stingray is the item that cops can deploy and trick your phone into linking to that as a cell tower and then track everything that your phone does. Well, they're using the same thing here, but they're using it to locate you in wilderness. So if you've got a phone and you're lost, even if you don't have any signal, once the helicopter shows up, you'll connect to their fake cell tower and they can pinpoint your location.
That would be cool.
Pretty amazing. And it's a little tiny thing too. I mean, it's not tiny, but
Yeah.
it certainly fits in a helicopter.
That's actually, so if you ever watched like Les Stroud or whatever, he did an episode where the scenario he was in, he was basically pretending to be a backpacker who'd gotten lost, and like then he had search and rescue come look for him after a week. And he pointed out like when the helicopter would go overhead, he'd be like deep in the woods, and he's like, there's just no way to signal them because they just can't see you. But if you had something like that.
They pointed that out, like 2 humans in that canopy are invisible.
Yeah.
Even if they want to be found. Yeah.
Yeah, he had like an orange shirt and he had a mirror and he was trying to signal them. He's like, they just can't see me. It's too thick.
I guess you could try to find like a rock outcropping or something. Or
That's what he did in the episode. He eventually found an open area and just waited for the helicopter to come back.
Now you just try to load web pages over and over.
Yeah. Hopefully I have service.
And here was maybe the software news of the week. It was denied at first. Now it has been confirmed. Google has admitted this is real.
Huge. Google search document leak reveals inner workings of ranking algorithm. Marketing agency scramble.
14,000 individual measurements. Now, we don't know what weight they have, but we know that Google records all of them, including, if you're using the Chrome browser, a bunch of extra stuff that only Chrome will give them. Good thing for not using Chrome anymore. 2,596 ranking features with 14,000 attributes. And they're complaining that we don't have enough electricity. We're doing this with it. But they point out some obvious things that the SEO people are going to be taking advantage of and making Google search even worse. You know how Google search was really bad? It's going to get worse.
It is going to get worse.
Because now the AI can read this.
Yeah. ChatGPT, tell me, what do I need to do to my website to make it worse? So it shows up in Google.
Here's the number one answer. You don't need AI for that.
No.
Let me give you the number one answer that you can do to make your website worse.
YouTube has now begun skipping videos altogether for users with ad blockers. I have not experienced this, but I saw this headline earlier this week and I was like immediately enraged.
uBlock Origin generally beats them.
Yeah.
Almost immediately. I did get some weirdness. Like, it seems to me that right after you update Chrome or Windows, that next launch, Google's able to silence a lot of that stuff and you get the weird behavior. But then if you just restart it, it seems to reassert itself.
The only thing I've ever had, I use Firefox and uBlock Origin, but every now and then if I'm listening to like a music thing that's really long, sometimes it'll stop randomly and it's like, are you still doing or doing this? And it's like, I don't know if that's YouTube or if it's like, I'm mad because I can't show you an ad right now.
They pointed out one of the things that it does, and think about how nasty this is. There was people in a meeting room who made this decision. It will actually just turn your volume off and keep it off. And then they said they could turn it back up and you'd get a little bit of sound for a little bit and then it would turn it right back down. The most nagging, annoying behavior.
What's annoying? Oh, excuse me. What's annoying about that is like there isn't really an alternative for YouTube yet. And so like, what are you going to do? Go somewhere else? Let's just keep making that experience worse and worse.
Is OpenAI trying to steal your voice right now?
A little bit. It's Google. They're angry. You won't speak out against us.
Well, Google's ad business is going to take a bit of a hit, I think. After people have figured out the search algorithm, there's going to be a lot of upheaval there. Plus the AI backlash, people don't like it, which of course means that we need another competitor in the advertising field, right?
PayPal announces new leaders to build new advertising platform and accelerate consumer product innovation.
Innovation.
There was another phrase in here, I can't remember what it was, that it was basically like, we're going to use customer insights. And I was like, so you're using customer data.
From
PayPal.
Well, from all of the companies that use PayPal.
Yeah.
Who don't necessarily want their data to be
That didn't necessarily
formed.
consent to that.
Well, I'm sure they clicked a license
button
agreement
somewhere, yeah.
So look forward to that. And if you're into gaming, but for whatever reason you only have a Microsoft GPU, Well, there's some good news there as well.
Microsoft's automatic super resolution arrives to improve gaming performance. Auto SR serves as upscaler similar to Nvidia DLSS and AMD FSR.
All of the new Copilot PCs with Microsoft GPUs will be using this technology. Remember, they claimed that those Copilot PCs on ARM could run Baldur's Gate 3 and what was the other game? But they didn't give any details on the quality levels.
Yeah.
But this apparently will help a lot.
Baldur's Gate 3 runs really well, though. The only time we had any trouble was like shortly after the game came out, and it was like the upper or the lower city area.
Yeah, when you actually got into Baldur's Gate.
But I think that's improved quite a bit
I haven't tried
since we played.
then. I'm looking forward to replaying that game in like a year or two.
So you've forgotten most of the story, yeah.
Maybe if I hit my head a couple of times in between now and then.
Yeah.
And I could hit my head as many times as I want. I will never be competitive at first-person shooters again. I could maybe get an aimbot, but then what would be the point of that? However, it's a robust business, and maybe we're going to get a little legal help in that regard.
Bungie wins lawsuit against chipmaker Aimjunkies.
It was a small settlement. It was like $60,000, $63,210. But it sets a precedent. Will the aimbot makers be worried by this?
It depends on how much of their profit that took, right?
I guess.
Is it a big business? I don't understand the appeal of that, of just getting a cheat and then like what do you get out of it? Do you really feel good about yourself? Like I had to cheat to get better.
I think some people. I think when Wendell plays games, he kind of just like focuses in and gets in that headspace where it's just like, I just want these numbers to go up. And I just want to get this and I want to do this. I want to do it as fast as possible. And it must be that kind of thing.
I can't imagine Wendell using a cheat. Though you did mention when you guys played DayZ. Yeah, he figured out how to like give himself items and stuff and that. And then suddenly it was like, that's all he wanted to do.
Yeah. And it was like, he would just spawn all the gear in, and we'd be like,
"Well, this is kind of
it's a survival game.
It defeats the purpose." Yeah,
he didn't understand that. And Google doesn't understand that they need these news companies. They need news companies to feed their AIs and their algorithms and so forth and so on. But boy, do they not want to pay them.
Scoop: Google threatens to pause Google News Initiative funding in U.S.
Why? Because of Gavin Newsom. Google is looking at that new California law and they're saying, nope. If you do this, because they already made the deal where it was like, all right, we're going to pay you. But only the big news companies, not the mom and pop news companies, if those even exist anymore. But now California's coming around and they're like, well, maybe we're going to create these laws. And Google's like, well, that'll invalidate all of our deal. In fact, we might just not do news anymore. The same way Facebook and other companies have decided not to. Why would we give you news and facts when we can just give you algorithm-driven short videos and you'll still watch all day long?
Hit that subscribe button, by the way.
These are long form.
These are long form.
And pour one out, Krista. You didn't have a Pepsi today.
No, I didn't. I don't always have a Pepsi when I come in.
Too early?
Yeah, it is too early. I had a coffee this morning.
But you should pour one out if you're at home because we have the end of an era and the end of a programming language.
VB script appreciation, timelines, and next steps.
It's not that big a deal. A lot of people will have memories of VB script. Tell us about them in the comments.
One time we were at my birthday party. It's like really teary.
And we all know that Apple is not in the AI game. How can Apple not be in the AI game? They have to do something. At first they said, maybe we'll just put it all on the device. But an iPhone ain't going to have the horsepower to do real AI queries. So now they got a new plan.
Apple says it will put its AI processing data in a cloud black box to keep it private. Just like your nudes.
I don't trust the cloud black box.
I also don't trust that.
But they say that's how it's going to go and that it will be totally secure. And go ahead and keep uploading your nudes. Don't worry.
Just don't think about it.
And also, if you are a donor to this, don't think about anything. Just keep donating.
Keep giving money.
Just year
Patreon
after,
and float plane.
How long can you keep denying? It turns out, was it like 10 years at this point? 15? I don't remember, but it's a long time.
Yeah. Star Citizen pushes through the 700 million raise mark, and no, there still isn't a release date.
I don't know. Where is this money laundering? Like, why? Is this the whole 12 years? The sunk cost fallacy? Is that what's going on here? They have a poll down here.
I think I answered this. I put never, and that was like 70% of the answers.
There are some people, though, who are big evangelists for Star Citizen.
Well, they're
still.
obviously, if they've raised that much money.
I guess, yeah. It's wild. I wish I would have thought of it. And
This is a late story.
When it comes to cutting budget, these companies are cutting everything that they can. To be fair, these people either were toothless or very bipolar. Because if we remember the whole one day it's okay for underboob, the next day it's not. Can you green screen on your butt? We don't know. And they kept changing their mind.
Twitch terminates all members of its safety advisory council.
It sounds like what they say is they're getting rid of this, and safety advisory is now going to be in the hands of ambassadors, which I interpret to be, we were paying these people, we won't be paying the next
Yeah,
group.
I assume that's just like moderators on Twitch or something. Volunteers.
They should do like all the tech companies do, and the safety advisory council should be like Amaranth and the bathwater girl and the green screen butt girl, just all the...
Well, it should just be, it'll end up being all the big streamers, right? Those
But
are
the
all big
ones who do
Yeah.
the content that constantly gets...
Yeah,
and
flagged.
Then they can just green flag themselves. Of course we can do that. You're probably too young for ICQ, right?
Friend of mine isn't, and he's my age, but I just didn't use it. I was a MSN to Yahoo girly.
I still remember my number from ICQ. It's one of those numbers that'll probably be with me forever. Like my locker combination from high school. You still remember that?
No, I do remember my ID number from school.
But it's the end of an era.
ICQ will stop working from June 26. Uh-oh. RIP. I didn't even know it was still around.
They revamped it a couple of years ago.
Huh.
Did an app.
And then it was probably like, this is a lot of money to keep this running, and it's not worth it.
No one cares. Everybody's using existing messaging platforms. So sad. And moving on to more social media, we have, of course, it's an election year. And so everybody wants to try to prove that they're doing their part to stop disinformation.
Meta says it removed 6 influence campaigns, including those from Israel and China.
The Israeli ones seem to be a little on the nose. I mean, it was obvious what they were trying to spread. But they identified these: Bangladesh, China, and Croatia, where they were using the laptop farms to push misinfo. And Instagram is trying to, keep the teens from harming themselves and being depressed and all of that.
Only 4 weeks at a time. Instagram Limits adds a mute button for everyone other than close friends. I don't think this is a terrible idea. It only lasts for 4 weeks, though. And then it, I guess, reverts.
Which proves that they're not serious about it, right?
Yeah, I would think you would be allowed to toggle that on and off as a user.
Originally, this was added for... If you were maybe you liked the wrong tweet or whatever, and people found you and you got doxxed and they just started harassing you, you could toggle this. But they figured the teens could all use it as well, so everybody gets it now.
I don't think it's not necessarily a bad feature. I just think you should be able to just keep it on all the time instead of having to reset it every 4 weeks.
And the TikTok battle, of course, is in the appeals phase now. They've got till like January, February, I think. But we're learning that the goals set out by the government in terms of TikTok might not be quite honest. They might actually just want to destroy it for other reasons.
White House rejected offer from TikTok allowing U.S. government to oversee social media app. This was in 2022.
So they were going to they're going to switch the code, let the government see all the code to make sure that there's no China in it. They were also going to let the government put board members on it and even give the White House the ability to just turn TikTok off anytime they wanted. And that was not enough. The government was not happy with that.
Do you think that just means they do that for China, right? Like, they're like, well, this is the China package.
No, well, maybe, but I think the big thing here is that the White House, or the government, has a lot of control over American social media.
Right.
Not just in terms of kill switch, but in terms of you'll post what we tell you to post. You'll post our propaganda. And they knew that they probably wouldn't get away with that with ByteDance because ultimately it's a Chinese company. And China would call them out on their BS. So they must destroy it. They don't want to compete with it. That's a theory of mine. We have no proof of that. And we have no proof that this will work either, but they are doing everything they can because they really don't want to get kicked out of the country.
Exclusive. TikTok preparing a U.S. copy of the app's core algorithm, sources say. Every fifth video, you just get fireworks images or pictures of eagles.
Guns.
Yeah.
Fast food.
When you hit the like button, it just fires off like a little gun.
That would be great.
That would be great.
But yeah, this also begs the question of what are you taking out of the other version? Because maybe that gives a little credence to the idea that we shouldn't have it. Because why would you need to change it?
It's the same, right?
They've told us that they certainly don't let China spy. Now here's an interesting question because we've seen this before. When you die, last week we learned that when you die, your Steam games just go away. No one gets to inherit your Steam games. Did we do that story?
Did we?
We might have missed that one.
I don't think we did that.
But that is a thing they've confirmed. Valve is no, when you're dead, your library goes with you.
That's why you never let them know you're dying, and then you just casually make sure your person knows the login.
You could do that.
Yeah.
But
unethical life pro tip.
But then you have to trust somebody, right? Because you have to give it to them before you die.
Yeah. Maybe you put it in your will. Here's the login to my Steam library. Use it well.
But then they're going to need to two-factor it.
Well, then you have a burner phone.
It's
complicated.
lot of work.
It's convoluted.
But what about social media? How are we going to apply all those same rules to Facebook?
UK mother of boy who killed himself seeks right to access his social media.
So this was a mystery unaliving. And
I said that just blatantly right out there, huh? We're going to get demonetized for that.
No one knows why this kid did what he did. It didn't seem like there was any warning signs. They weren't able to figure anything out. Now, the mom thinks that maybe there was something on social media that she didn't know about that he kept hidden. But the social media companies are not letting her in. And so she is now suing to try and get access.
I kind of understand why a social media company might not be handing over someone's login because they don't know.
But what if mom was the reason? What if mom and her controlling, horrible helicopter parenting was the reason?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I was a social media company and someone came up to me and was like, so-and-so has passed away, give me their account info, I'd probably be like,
Yeah, you got to be suspicious of that because they might not be dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting argument. And we have seen that Ontario is not a fan of the social media companies. And in fact, they have a huge class action lawsuit that's not just people, but also schools. And it's growing.
It's Ontario, right? You've thrown me off. More Ontario school boards file suits against social media giants. You said Ontario.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Ontario.
So you got some Catholic schools on here, etc. It seems like this is just getting bigger and bigger. And when they bring on more people, they keep raising the damages that they want. Can they prove that there's damages? Probably. And I had no idea that this kid existed, but apparently he is very famous and very popular. Also, unfortunately, very dead. But
I assumed this was nonsense. I didn't realize it was on Very Social at first. I guess that makes sense.
But he's dead, but he, in fact, also miracles. He did some miracles.
Pope clears way for God's influencer to become a saint.
He died in 2006 of cancer.
Leukemia, I believe.
But he was huge in spreading Catholicism on social media. And in 2006, that was probably pretty trailblazing, don't you think? And then they claim that he cured somebody's disease, like a blood disease. So you have to have a number of miracles to be a saint.
I'm not, this isn't my flavor of Christianity, so I had to like look it up, but he's been beatified.
Beatified.
I'm not sure. Yeah. And then that's like one step away from becoming sanctified as a saint in the Catholic Church.
That's definitely, there can never have been a saint that looks like this, right?
No. Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, he looks more modern because if he changed his clothes to like a monk's outfit, probably wouldn't be that far off.
That's true. Probably not.
Interesting.
You know what? We could use more saints, right?
Yeah.
Every saint has a thing, right?
It seems to be, yeah.
Like Saint Jude is the saint of lost causes, right? Or something like that.
Saint Francis of, I'm not going to say this right, Assisi. He preached to the birds because the people wouldn't listen to him. He was a nature saint.
So what's this guy going to be? The saint of the
of cell phones, of good reception, good internet service,
social media algorithms.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it, chat. We will see you on Friday with actual nonsense and AI stories. Bye.